The following program is paid for by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Absolute Mortgage Company, NMLS number 81395 and Washington CL number 81395 is an equal opportunity housing lender. Tina Mitchell, MLO number 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Absolute Mortgage. Visit absoluteloans.com or call 888-90-HOMES for cost information.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, sponsored by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Now, in the studio, local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome to The Money Hour on 570 KVI, the Sunday, April 27 show. I'm your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. Thank you for taking time to talk money. I'm here every Sunday at 11 a.m. right here on 570 KVI. I've built a network of elite industry professionals every week sharing their knowledge and expertise to my listeners. I have a great lineup for studio today, so if there's any questions that you have, you will definitely want to take down my show number, 1-888-987-0570. Again, that's 1-888-987-0570, or you can reach me online at themoneyhour.com. And the lineup today, Cheryl Knowles with Keller Williams, Greater Seattle, Kim Frazier with John L. Scott, Bellevue, Maine office, and Greg Prill with Coldwell Banker Bain, all industry leaders. And I'm excited to have today's panel conversation all about real estate in our local market. You will not want to miss out on today's conversation if you're thinking of buying and selling in the near future. What a powerful conversation it's going to be today. And I'm just, again, excited to have a whole panel of realtors and some very experienced ones in our local market. Again, great information. Take down the show number, 1-888-987-0570, 1-888-987-0570, if you want to talk to any of my expert real estate professionals in studio today. There we go. Time for a little money chat. I'm really excited about the conversation for Money Chat today. New program available out there. It's called the Mortgage Alternative Program, or the MAP, and it's specific to our company that offers this program. And if you're listening today and you've been affected by the economy and you've had some issues with credit, or you can't qualify for traditional financing to get a mortgage, this is an opportunity for you to get in and purchase a property on a lease to own. And for my realtors that are in studio today, if you've got any credit challenged or issues with borrowers or a self-employed borrower that can't qualify, this is an opportunity to, and also in a multiple offer situation, because the bank's going to come in and purchase this home for cash. So a $300,000 home, the bank's going to come in and pay cash for it. Real estate commissions are paid out. The buyer's going to be in a lease-to-own contract for that. So for a seller, if you're listening, this is a great program for you because you're able to help somebody get into a home that can't qualify for traditional financing. But even that traditional financing buyer, this is a better deal because this is really a cash offer. So there is no financing contingency. There's no appraisal contingency that's going to go with this. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. So for you as a buyer out there that can't qualify for traditional, you want to get in and take advantage of this opportunity to build equity in your home right now into a lease-to-own product, you definitely want to pay attention to this segment. Take down my phone number, 1-888-987-0570. Again, 1-888-987-0570, because I'm going to go through these highlights, bullet points a little bit quick, and I want to make sure that you know how to get a hold of the show for more information. So the cash that you need, it's a minimum 5% down payment program, depending on the price of the home, because it has to follow what the standard secondary market requirements would be. So your conventional conforming loan amount cannot exceed $417,000 for a 5% down payment unless you're going into qualifying for an FHA, but they're not meeting those requirements. They want you to meet the secondary requirements, which is for conventional financing. So if your loan amount would be over $417,000, that's going to push you into the high balance limit, which is a maximum 506. Then you're going to be looking at a 10% down. So again, if you're $417,000 loan amount, minimum 5% down payment. Now, there is a transaction fee that's being paid to the lender. There's a risk here for the lender lending to a non-traditional contract in a lease-to-own purchase. So there's a 3% transaction fee. Now, if you were purchasing a property, your typical closing cost and prepaid setup is around 3.5%. So that you do not have to pay. You're not going to pay any of the traditional closing costs that you would be if you were purchasing it. So you've got that 3% transaction fee, plus there's a $995 processing fee. Now, that can be paid by the seller. Realtors that are in studio today are probably going, oh my gosh, you can't get a seller to pay. In this environment, you can't. But a lot of times what you can do is increase the price. And again, this is considered a cash offer because the bank is coming in and paying cash. So you don't have the financing attached to it, which makes your offer not as strong. So if you're just going to increase your cash offer by another 3%, the seller really doesn't care. So it's a good way to get that 3% taken care of is roll it into your offer, ultimately meaning you're paying a little bit more for that home. Now, on a $300,000 home, the down payment then would be $15,000 plus the 3%, which was $9,000 for the transaction fee, the $995 one-time processing fee puts the total cash needed at $26,995. Again, no other cost associated to this purchase. Down payment's going to be held in escrow. So that down payment is going into a trust account, that 5% down in a trust account, which is going to go towards the purchase of your property. Now, let's talk about price. The contract is for 6 years. You can get out of the contract anytime before the 6 years you want to. Pretty cool. You can actually sell the home if you want to. So if you wanted to utilize this just to be a cash buyer, so that ultimately maybe you're getting a better deal on the home, not securing financing. If it's worth it to you to pay that 3% fee, you could actually use this for other reasons than not being able to qualify for a traditional loan. But the contract is for 6 years. You can break out of that contract anytime you want to and sell the property, and you're going to get the equity. But the price is fixed, but it's fixed based on an assumption that the property is going to appreciate. So the first year, the appreciation is calculated at 5%. For Washington State. So if you pay $300,000 for the home, the first year it's going to be appreciated at 5% assumption for your fixed purchase price. Every year after that, it's 3% fixed appreciation through the 6 years. So if you paid $300,000 for the home at the end of the 6-year contract, if you kept the contract that long out, your fixed purchase price is going to be $360,000. So again, it's fixed. Depending on where you're at in that contract, at the end it would be $360 for the full 6 years. Now, so what happens if your property doesn't appreciate? Let's say that we go through a decline in the market. I can't predict what the real estate market is going to do, and you want to have a little idea of what you think it's going to do. But let's talk about worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, the real estate market just tanks. What can you do? You can get out of this contract anytime you want to during the 6-year period. But if you're not selling the home to someone else, which means you're honoring the agreement of that fixed price that you've made to the bank on your lease to own, if you're just going to walk away from it, you can do that. But you're going to lose, obviously, that 3% transaction fee because that is non-refundable. That doesn't go anywhere. That's just the cost associated for this. But also, you're going to lose 3% of the down payment that went into the trust. So there is a penalty if you walk away from this contract. That's the worst case scenario. You're not going into a foreclosure situation or anything because the bank is responsible for this loan and they're going to be taking the loss on it. So payments, how payments are estimated at. The payments, a good calculation is about $800 a month per 100,000. That's taxes, insurance, everything in. The lender's going to take care of the taxes and insurance for you, but it's a good estimate is about $800 a month. So it's a little bit premium what you would pay for an FHA loan. FHA, you might have $2,100 a month for a $300,000 home with everything in. On this program, it might be closer to maybe about $2,400 a month. And then that payment increases 3% a year. So we know historically rent increases 4 or 5% a year. So this is going to increase 3% a year. It's a fixed increase, which give or take, maybe it's about $75 a month additional in the payment. So it's a really, really great program to get into. I've never heard of something out on the market like this. I'm excited to help people that want to get into the market, get some equity in their home and be able to take advantage of a lease to own opportunity and not really have a lot of risk. If you look at the worst case scenario, it's going to be a 6% of cost for getting in and taking advantage and walking away from something. Whereas you own a home, you can't walk away from it without having a lot of disaster that's attached to it. This, you just got to look worst case scenario. You're going to be out that 6%. I do want to make a reference. There is no tax deduction on this for you. I'm sorry. I wish there was, but the lender is paying the property taxes, and it's not, you really don't own it yet. It's a lease to own, so you can't get that write off. I tried to see if there was any creative way with my CPA, but there won't be. But again, there's no appraisal on it. The inspection, everything's going to be worked out with the agent on determining a price. The inspection's going to be up to you and the bank. So if the bank says they want to lend on this property, but you don't want to buy it, you don't have to buy it if you don't agree with the inspection. So great opportunity to get into a home, lease to own. 1-888-987-0570. Again, 1-888-987-0570. Coming up next in the Money Hour, power players in the real estate arena having a power conversation on everything real estate. Cheryl Knowles with Keller Williams, Greater Seattle, Kim Frazier with John L. Scott, Bellevue, Maine office, and Greg Prill, the only guy in studio, Coldwell Banker Bain, right here on 570 KVI after this short break.
If you want to save thousands of dollars when you buy a home, today's real estate market is giving you that opportunity, especially with HUD-owned or bank-owned homes. It's easier and never more affordable. The Knowles team knows how to guide you to these homes because they list both HUD homes and bank-owned homes, and they know all the rules, guidelines, and procedures because they've sold so many of them. Call the Knowles team today and prepare to be moved.
This is Cheryl Knowles. You can reach me at 206-793-8881. Again, Cheryl with the Knowles team at 206-793-8881.
Listening. Sometimes it's hard to do. If your real estate agent doesn't listen to you, how can you get the best deal? If your real estate agent doesn't take the time to get to know you, how can they look after your best interests? Greg Prill of Coldwell Banker Bain listens. He wants to know your needs for today and your dreams for tomorrow. By getting to know you and your needs, Greg Prill ensures that you get the best deal possible and that what matters to you is taken care of. It all begins with a simple conversation. Call Greg Prill today.
Hi, this is Greg Prill of Coldwell Banker Bain. Let's talk about how we can make your real estate goals something more than just a dream. So give me a call at 206-734-4397. That's 206-734-4397. And hey, make sure you have a great day.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Well, welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 570 KVI. I'm empowering our community, providing you with opportunities and solutions when it comes to anything regarding your money. For more information on any topic today, well, the topic today is all about real estate. But if you have any questions, give the show a call, 1-888-987-0570. Again, that's 1-888-987-0570 or online at themoneyhour.com. In studio right now, we have Cheryl Knowles with Keller Williams, Greater Seattle, Kim Frazier with John L. Scott, Bellevue, Maine office, and Greg Prill with Coldwell Banker Bain. And I have all of them together, all for a conversation that's going to last for the rest of the show. So the last three segments is going to be everything regarding real estate. And I'm just excited to have all three of them in studio because they are leaders in the industry and have valuable information to share when it comes to investing in real estate. And just a quick bio on each of them. Cheryl's been licensed since 1989 and has been managing broker since 1995. She is a state director for South King County Association of Realtors and is a certified residential specialist. With only 5% of the almost 1 million realtors in the United States have achieved this. As team leader of the Knowles team, Cheryl's vast wealth of knowledge and her extensive network of real estate professionals and resources have served to make her one of the area's premier realtors. And Kim Frazier with John L. Scott. Kim has been a successful realtor for over 12 years with over 600 closings under her belt. She works out of the John L. Scott Bellevue, Maine office and serves the greater Puget Sound region. She has been recognized among the top agents within John L. Scott consistently for the last 10 years. And last in studio, I got to leave the guy last, Greg Prill, Coldwell Coldwell Banker Bain. Greg is a full-service real estate broker, and he's an attorney with more than a dozen years of experience. Greg is an expert negotiator with an impeccable attention to detail. All attorneys are. Greg leverages his two areas of professional expertise to ensure that you find the right home at the right time for the right price. Greg is a graduate of University of California and the Chicago-Kent College of Law. In addition to his duties as a licensed full-service real estate broker, Greg is the principal of the Prill law firm, which focuses on providing legal services to individuals and small businesses. And again, you guys, thank you so much, all of you, for coming into studio. This is going to be a great conversation around real estate.
Well, thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
I appreciate the opportunity.
So let's go ahead and start out with the real estate right now. And I'm just going to throw it out there, not something that we normally do in studio with the panel conversation. Usually I have independent interviews with each of my three guests. But I was just really excited. I'm excited about the opportunity in real estate, everything that's happening, especially in our local market here. So I'm just going to have you guys, any of you that wants to answer the questions, just throw it out. We'll have a casual conversation. So what's happening in the real estate market right now?
Well, besides low inventory, multiple offers, buyers getting discouraged when they're finding out that there's 10 to one time we had 41 offers on one property.
My gosh.
And the one thing that's really, really good right now is we still have incredible interest rates.
And that is so true, with the cost of money being so inexpensive. And we all know in the industry that cost is much more important than price.
Yes.
If you had a choice between a low price or a low cost, which do you want? The low cost always has a better return for you. But we have low cost, and I don't know, I can't predict what the real estate market is, and I'm not going to do in the future, and I can't ask you guys to do it either. But with some of the things, that indicators that we normally can take a look at to give a prediction of what we might think would be happening in the next year to 5 years in our real estate market, what are you guys seeing out there?
I think you'll continue to see strong prices appreciation at a slower pace than what we saw the last 12 to 18 months. A lot of investors had jumped into the marketplace. A lot of those in lower price points, under $300,000. There were a lot of large investor groups that came into the market, which kind of helped pull those lower prices up, therefore pushing up the prices for all of the market. I think that we're back to more of a stable market and an increase in appreciation in values, more in the probably 4 to 6% range. Closer to the job centers, Seattle, East Side market, I think you're going to continue to see higher rates of appreciation than further up north in Snohomish or down south in Pierce and Thurston counties.
Makes total sense. Greg, what do you see?
Well, I think that's absolutely right. And one of the things that I've noticed is that you still have a core group of motivated buyers out there, which tells me that people want to invest in real estate. Yeah. They want to make that most important investment in their life. Now, we've been thwarted a little bit by low inventory. But the great thing is that if you have a little bit of patience and you work with a good quality broker who's going to listen to you and understand what it is that you're looking for, it may take once, it may take twice, but you will find that right home.
And that's too funny, Greg, because doing the show week after week, every time we have on real estate, I say, and Mike every time, don't give up, don't give up. You may not get the first home, the second home, the third home, the fourth home, but if you don't give up, your home is going to come through. It's just a different market because of the inventory. Cheryl, what about you with indicators? What are you seeing?
Well, reading the business journal and all that kind of fun business stuff, what I'm finding is you still have Amazon that is strong in hiring. You also have Google. And also Seattle in general is really big on gamers. And so those industries right now are increasing. And a lot of people that are being hired by these industries have money. They usually get good jobs. And a lot of them now are more towards downtown Seattle, which if you look at Google, the amount of construction and the cranes that are going on, and having some of that type of clientele, they're hungry for condos. They're hungry for homes around this area. And because of that, I feel that in the greater or the more of the downtown Queen Anne, Capitol Hill, Green Lake area, I think you're still going to find that it's going to be a tough market for the next few years.
Yeah, so tough market just means don't give up. You've got hopefully some instant appreciation if you don't quit. The worst thing you can do is quit and miss out on the opportunity. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about thinking out of the box, because to win in this market, you have to be creative. We've already all agreed you can't give up. That's the first thing. But as you're out there and you're competing and trying to fight for the property and not giving up, you've got to be creative to get your offer accepted. So what are some creative things? Because I know you guys are all creative, and that's why you're successful in the real estate arena. What are you doing?
I would say that one of the first things is sitting down and educating your buyer as to the different options that they're going to be needing to be looking at, approaching multiple offer situations. One of them being escalation clauses. Okay. Some brokers just want highest and best offers, especially when it comes to bank-owned properties. They don't actually, the banks do not like to take escalation clauses. They just want your highest and best, period. Okay. When it comes to an actual seller, a actual person who's selling their property, I think you're going to see more escalation clauses in place. Also, you're going to be looking at waiving financing, possibly having the financing contingencies waived. If you are confident and you're already through the loan approval process, I think then you can confidently move forward with looking at waiving a financing contingency. Also, inspection contingencies. Some sellers do pre-inspections to kind of let the buyer know that the house is solid. But sometimes waiving your inspection as well as your financing is going to give you the best foothold in. Now, there is some risk involved in doing that. Of course. You're going to be needing to make sure that your financing is rock solid with your lender. And there is some risk associated with the waiving of your inspection. However, there are home warranty options available that you can add for about $400 to $500 onto the purchase of the property. So it takes care of major electrical, plumbing, appliance issues, things like that, the mechanical things within the home that can offset a little bit of the stress and anxiety that you may be facing waiving your inspection outright.
Okay, and if you're going in with a really strong offer, if you waive your inspection, you can actually get your inspection, get in there and get it, and just be out that money if for some reason the offer doesn't come through. I want to go back to the escalation clause really quickly for those of my listeners that don't know what that is. If you're making an offer on a $400,000 home, understanding what the difference in payment is, and I have so many buyers, it's surprising that they're not getting educated. I mean, it's really simple. There's simple math. It's about $5 for every 1,000. So if you know what that payment difference is going to be, figure out the maximum you're willing to go. And maybe it's 10,000, maybe it's 20,000. You start out at 400,000, and you'll do increments of 5,000 all the way up to whatever your cap is. And that way they have to show competing offer in order for that escalation clause to come into place. And I am so surprised that not everybody is putting those together. And I think it's just lack of knowledge. Greg, what about you? What's out of the box?
Well, I think that in order to think outside of the box, you have to know what the box is. And that takes a little bit of education. Well, you have to have education. And I'm sure that everybody here probably had a grandmother who told them when they were in high school, education is the most important thing. And it's a lifelong situation that you have to engage in. And when you're going to be investing a large chunk of your income in a home, it really does pay to figure out what the process is, from getting pre-approved, perhaps subject to a particular property, which I know that you can help folks out with, Tina, to understanding what are the common problems that occur when you get closer to that closing date.
Sure.
And so if you know ahead of time what the process is, your broker can help you sort of strategize as to what makes your offer a little bit more special to a particular seller. And sometimes that means perhaps as a selling agent, a buyer's broker, you've had a prior experience with the listing agent, and you can have that good conversation with them. What's important to that seller? Is it finding a good steward, a caretaker for that home for the next 30 years? Or is it simply making the most money that you possibly can? When you know what those two options are, you really can find a solution that's best for your client. And that is huge,
because every seller is going to be different. And I, like how you mentioned in talking with the listing agent, all of you are respected in the industry, which is huge and so important in these multiple offer situations, to the agent that's representing you as a buyer, to make sure that they actually are seasoned and can help that process go smoothly. Cheryl, I know you're an out of the box and you do a lot of training with your team to help them understand how to really structure and put in the best offer for negotiating purposes. What's a tip you have?
Two things. One, keep the offer, I'm going to say, really clean, meaning your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, limited amount of contingencies. Also, have the loan officer call the listing agent and because they're part of the team. Tina, you're part of the team too. And the other thing that is sometimes helpful is maybe a photo of the person purchasing the home or the family or a letter just about the home from the buyer, coming from the buyer's heart of why they want the home. And sometimes that makes a difference or not, but it's just one more thing that you could possibly do to help get the home.
Imagine that you are a seller. Do you think that you have some type of emotional connection to that home that you raised your family in? I think so. And that's where Cheryl is going with the letter is let them know who you are. Let them know how much you want the house. Show your kids and your family. And it's going to help in that emotional attachment that they have to the home. And it surely can't hurt anything. And I want to go back to calling the listing agent because I am so surprised that I don't know any lender that promotes and says, please give me the information, the contact information, listing agent. And every time I make that call and I get the listing agent live, I cannot think of any of them that aren't, they get this, wow, thanks for the call. Yeah, they're not expecting it. And for a lender to go, you know what, I just wanted to call and let you know that my buyers are really excited about making an offer on this house. They're completely approved, ready to go. Oh, by the way, I've got a guarantee on my closings. You'll see right on the second page of the pre-approval letter, $1,000. So rest assured my team's going to get the job done. That's my tip. Make sure on the financing side that your mortgage consultant guarantees their closing. It's in the pre-approval letter, and you've got to make the call to listing agent. So Cheryl, thank you so much for that. Now, the strategy of the seller when listing their home is important as well. When representing a seller, what's the most important advice that you have on the seller side? Because we've been kind of focusing on the buyer side. Let's go ahead and change hats because I know all of you guys represent buyers at some time and you also represent sellers. Oops, well, we can't do that question because I'm not paying attention to my engineer back there. I'm not used to having all of us together all in one segment and having this nice conversation. All right, I got to take us to commercial. So coming up next on the Money Hour, we're going to continue the conversation with my experts, all experts in the field of real estate, talking about everything that's happening in the market, strategies and tips. So I guess we're going to talk about seller tips. So if you're thinking of selling your home, do not turn the dial. Right here on 570 KBI, coming up after this short break.
Listening. Sometimes it's hard to do. If your real estate agent doesn't listen to you, how can you get the best deal? If your real estate agent doesn't take the time to get to know you, how can they look after your best interests? Greg Prill of Coldwell Banker Bain listens. He wants to know your needs for today and your dreams for tomorrow. By getting to know you and your needs, Greg Prill ensures that you get the best deal possible and that what matters to you is taken care of. It all begins with a simple conversation. Call Greg Prill today.
Hi, this is Greg Prill of Coldwell Banker Bain. Let's talk about how we can make your real estate goals something more than just a dream. So give me a call at 206-734-4397. That's 206-734-4397. And hey, make sure you have a great day.
If you want to save thousands of dollars when you buy a home, today's real estate market is giving you that opportunity, especially with HUD-owned or bank-owned homes. It's easier and never more affordable. The Knowles team knows how to guide you to these homes because they list both HUD homes and bank-owned homes, and they know all the rules, guidelines, and procedures because they've sold so many of them. Call the Knowles team today and prepare to be moved.
This is Cheryl Knowles. You can reach me at 206-793-8881. Again, Cheryl with the Knowles team at 206-793-8881.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Well, welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 570 KBI. My goal is to keep you up to date on the latest news and trends in our local economy. Keep me tuned in, and I promise I will keep you informed. And today is everything about real estate. You will want to take down the show number to talk to my experts today, 1-888-987-0570. Again, it's 1-888-987-0570 or online at themoneyhour.com. In studio right now, Cheryl Knowles with Keller Williams, Greater Seattle, Kim Frazier with John L. Scott, Bellevue, Maine office, and Greg Prill with Coldwell Banker Bain. Investing in real estate may not produce the quick quick, rich results promised by some infomercials coming on a late night. But I am committed to educating on real estate because I'm a firm believer that it is the best investment that we can make. And history shows the real estate market will always have its ups and downs. But unless you sell in a bad market, you're always going to make money in real estate if we continue to follow historical trends. So we were going to commercial there, and right before we were going to talk about some tips on sellers. What we're doing is talking everything real estate, and we've been focusing a lot on the buyer side. And each of my expert realtors in our local market here all specialize on helping buyers and sellers, depending on what side of the transaction that they're on at that time. So let's go ahead, you guys, and move it over to the seller side. What is some tips? Because I think sellers right now, they just think anything goes. They can get anything they want, and you can really lose a lot of money as a seller if you don't listen to the expert advice. I don't care if there's a zillion buyers out there and there's one home. You can make a lot of money on the profit of your home, and you can lose a lot of money if you don't do the right thing. So Cheryl, what's a tip that you have for a seller?
Well, especially in this market, in order to get what I call premium pricing, it still is so important to get the landscaping done, to stage the property, to get it nice and clean and have professional photos and price it right. Don't overprice it. If you price it right and you do all those things, then you'll get your premium price, which is people coming in with multiple offers and getting more money.
Makes sense. So Cheryl, if it's selling right now and they're thinking price right, okay, whatever, what does that really mean? If they don't price right, what does this mean to them? What happens?
You'll have a home that will sit on the market, and eventually you'll have to start doing, if they want to sell, you have to remember it's all about motivation.
Yep.
Eventually they'll be able to sell it by price reductions. However, if they would have put it on the market at market price, then chances are they would get their top dollar.
And what do you think about a little tiny bit under market price? Are you seeing a strategy there in helping to bring in the massive amount of buyers to up that price, or what are you advising there?
Well, and that's part of our job as realtors, to be able to educate the seller and give them the options. If you price it at this price range, this is what could happen. If you price it at this price. So a lot of it will be depending on the motivation of the. So, for example, I have a client right now. I sold him the home 18 years ago, called me up, wants to sell the property.
Okay.
And I met with him. And my first thought after listening to him, they wanted top dollar. I went back, did the market analysis, sat down with them. And then really, they finally told me their motivation, and it wasn't getting top dollar. Get this home sold, Cheryl, as fast as you can.
Yeah,
as long as I net this amount, I don't need all this money because I have to move fast.
Makes sense. And just like Greg said earlier, really trying to find out what the needs are of both sides. Now talking about the seller. Kim, what about you? What is a tip that you have for any of the sellers that you're representing in this crazy environment?
I agree with Cheryl, was exactly what I was going to say. As far as, I would say primarily, you need to focus on presentation, making sure the show is the home is market ready on day one.
Okay.
You're not still in the middle of a remodeling project. You're still moving boxes out of the living room or the garage, and that it's cleaned and tidy and neat, and all the little loose ends are buttoned up when you walk up to the front of the house. Making sure it's freshly painted, that it's crisp, the landscaping's sharp and in good order. I think those are very important, and I agree with Cheryl that in this market, more than any, buyers are much more savvy than they have been 10, 20 years ago.
Sure.
Everything with Zillow and all of the different access we have to quote unquote market values, they're more educated and more savvy than they were in the past. So it's important to price it right in the beginning. Yep. If for some reason that you and your broker are not on the same page as far as value, it's always wise. You can get an opinion of an appraiser. You can have an appraiser do a listing appraisal to help establish market value. Not always are agents and sellers on the same page. Some agents try to price things more competitively to move them quicker. Sure. And then you have the other side too, where sellers on the other side always think their home is worth more than it is. I've done that many times in the past with my own personal residences. You always think your home is worth more than it is. So sometimes it's nice to have someone in the middle who's an unbiased third party really give you a good indication of what the true value of the property is. And then you can kind of work within that matrix to find the appropriate value and a good price to go out at.
Makes sense. And again, as a seller, put yourself in the buyer's shoes. Get online. Take a look. As just was Kim was saying, I mean, there's so much information out there. Take a look as a seller and pretend like you were a buyer and look at these other homes and the price range that you think that you want to list. And the importance of, again, why with Cheryl and Kim talking about the quality of the home, they're looking at photos first. And if your home doesn't stack up, nobody's going to come out and look at it. So all these little things are so important when we've got the online access to take a look first to see if it makes sense. Greg, what's a tip that you have for my sellers that are listening?
Absolutely. Well, so Case-Shiller, those are the folks that analyze the real estate market in various cities, note that a little over 60,000 people are expected to come into our region over the next several years. And I've noticed that a lot of sellers think that this is 20 or 30 years ago, where they're selling to their high school friends or perhaps the children of their high school friends. And that's just not true. Sellers in our region really have to understand that they're selling to people who are coming from Boston, from Bangalore, from all over the world.
Good point.
And so they have different expectations. And I can't tell you the number of times that I've been working with buyers who take a look at a particular house and say, well, gosh, this isn't what I'm used to.
Yes.
There's been some deferred maintenance that may be kind of normal in our region, you know, just a little bit of deferred, not too bad. But if you come from a different part of the country where that isn't something that's normal, that's going to count as a mark against your home.
You know, what a great, and this is why I love this. I love having, you know, all of you guys in here because you're so good at what you do and these little tiny tips, because that is true. I mean, you can be in a certain neighborhood, and let's say Somerset or whatever neighborhood that you're in, that you may have a certain demographic that are actually moving into those areas, or somewhere where Microsoft is there. And you need to find out about the culture that's coming in and purchasing your home, because things that are very important to them that may not be important to us. What an amazing tip. Thank you so much, you guys. So let's go ahead and move over to rent. So let's steer and talk a little bit to my first time home buyers out there that are renting, because what's happening with rents is an indicator of what the real estate market is going to do. So what do you guys have to opinion on the rents?
Well, I think they're out of control.
They are out of control. What does that mean for our first-time home buyers? You need to get into a house, right?
Well, it's very important for these 60,000 people who are going to be coming to our region to understand that they're going to be spending $2,300, $2,400 on an apartment that's nice, but it's not super fantastic. And the sooner that you can get out of that rental unit, where perhaps you have people on top of you and to the left of you who don't care about the environment that they're living in, something that you own, something that you can take care of, whether it's a condo where you have a homeowners association where you can work on common issues, or it's a standalone single-family residence. That's going to be the best for you, not just for you financially over the long term, but psychologically. It's nice to own something and to feel that you're a part of a community.
And you know what I tell renters? That it's simple, but I think sometimes people don't really think about it. Rent will never, ever end. Never. Until you buy, it's never going away. And not only is it not going to end, it's not fixed, and your mortgage is. Your mortgage is a fixed payment for 30 years if you go a fixed rate mortgage payment, outside of taxes increasing based on value or decreasing if the value dropped. It is a fixed payment for 30 years. How awesome is that? And we're not even talking about all the other benefits. So anything else? Yes, Greg.
10% increase, I think, on average for rentals here in the downtown Seattle region year over year. That's
so
a lot of money.
What does that mean when because I know there's some indicators of rent going up, and what does that mean on the opposite side of what that means for property values?
Well, in my estimation, I think
that's the first time you guys were quiet.
I had to think about that.
Processing.
Well, it's a really large question, and I think that what developers do with rent is they figure out what they can get away with, and they try and target rent as much as they can to be sort of parallel to what's going on with mortgage rates for an average price home.
Sure.
And so if they can make it just a hair under what the expected mortgage payment's going to be, they're going to do that.
Got it.
But the problem is that it's a year lease, and they don't have the flexibility. They don't have the ability to change on a dime. And so if you're locked into a year lease and you know that it's probably going to be about a 10% increase year over year, think ahead. Perhaps don't eat out as often. Take that money, put it into the bank account, build up your nest egg so that when your year lease ends, you can put that down payment down into a home.
Yeah, it makes total sense. So let's go into interest rates, because where we saw the spike in the interest rates, at least spike meaning, I mean, they're really, really low right now, but they're not 3 3/4. Maybe they're closer to 4 1/4, 4 1/2, depending on what we're talking about. But that's a little bit of an increase, which affected buying power by about 20, 30 grand. Yes. So that happened in May, and when it happened literally overnight when we saw that increase, and we're not getting back to that 3 3/4% interest rate. And we are going to be increasing in the interest rate. It's just a matter of time. What are you guys telling your buyers? I mean, help my listeners understand the power of this opportunity that we're in right now today.
What I found is I do my best to educate buyers on the historical 30-year average, which is an over 8% rate if you take the last 30 years as an average. I remember when my parents bought their first home, rates were in the 16 to 18% range. When I bought my first house at the age of 20 in 1990, I just aged myself, rates were 10%, and I bought it down to 9.75, and I thought I was rich. I was so excited. And then a couple years later, I bought my second home, and I thought anything under 8, I was so going to be set.
Yeah.
And it was 7.75. And I think for a while, when I got into the business in 2002, rates were in the 7 to 7% range. And as the rate started to come down into the 6% range, we were just so ecstatic. And we thought, oh gosh, we're ruined forever. When rates started to reset back into the 7 and 8% range, we would never sell any more houses. It was done. Yeah. And then through the last 6 to 7 years, with record low interest rates and zero borrowing rates, it's forced rates even lower.
Yeah.
And they're excellent, but it almost handicaps people mentally a little bit because they think this is the norm.
Perception
is reality.
Yep.
And as they start to creep up, it can almost have a paralyzing effect at some point, unless they understand the history of interest rates and where they've been the last 10, 20, 30 years. So I think by educating your seller or educating your buyers, you can better equip them to know that these are great rates, they won't last forever, and this is what the reality of a healthy market is.
Great advice, Kim. And I think, looking at it and just analyzing the numbers, if you're listening right now, just take a look at what that 0.5% increase in rate is not really even doing on the payment, because the payment doesn't seem like it's that huge amount in a payment. But remember, every $10,000 in price, depending on the down payment you're coming in with, let's just say $60 a month, that it really is affecting your buying power, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. It's going to have a huge effect there. Coming up next in the Money Hour, real estate and the potential missed opportunity if you don't jump in now. My panel discussion with top realtors in our local market: Cheryl Knowles with Keller Williams Greater Seattle, Kim Frazier with John L. Scott Bellevue Main office, and Greg Prill with Coldwell Banker Bain are still here for the rest of this show right here on 570 KVI after this short break.
If you want to save thousands of dollars when you buy a home, today's real estate market is giving you that opportunity, especially with HUD-owned or bank-owned homes. It's easier and never more affordable. The Knowles team knows how to guide you to these homes because they list both HUD homes and bank-owned homes, and they know all the rules, guidelines, and procedures because they've sold so many of them. Call the Knowles team today and prepare to be moved.
This is Cheryl Knowles. You can reach me at 206-793-8881. Again, Cheryl with the Knowles team at 206-793-8881.
Listening. Sometimes it's hard to do. If your real estate agent doesn't listen to you, how can you get the best deal? If your real estate agent doesn't take the time to get to know you, how can they look after your best interests? Greg Prill of Coldwell Banker Bain listens. He wants to know your needs for today and your dreams for tomorrow. By getting to know you and your needs, Greg Prill ensures that you get the best deal possible and that what matters to you is taken care of. It all begins with a simple conversation. Call Greg Prill today.
Hi, this is Greg Prill of Coldwell Banker Bain. Let's talk about how we can make your real estate goals something more than just a dream. So give me a call at 206-734-4397. That's 206-734-4397. And hey, make sure you have a great day.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Now back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert Tina Mitchell right here on 570 KVI. I am committed to providing you knowledge needed to be successful in every area regarding your finances. Knowledge is power, and that's why I am here, and that's why I'm sharing all this wealth of information with my listeners. Today it really is all about real estate. I have only the best of the best in studio today, local experts, local professionals on real estate. If you want to talk with any of my guests in studio, please call the show 1-888-987-0570. Again, it's 1-888-987-0570 or online at themoneyhour.com. Again, if you're just tuning in, I have Cheryl Knowles with Keller Williams, Greater Seattle, Kim Frazier with John L. Scott, Bellevue, Maine office, and Greg Prill with Coldwell Banker Bain. Kim, let's go ahead and start out with you. I want to talk about how fortunate we are to live in a Port Rim city because of our economy and the benefits and everything that we have here. We've got a little bit of everything. Manufacturing, we've got Boeing, high-tech, Microsoft and Amazon. Retail, we've got Nordstrom. So what does that really mean? I think people forget what a benefit it is to be right here in a Port Rim city.
There are so many opportunities here within the city of Seattle, the East Side, the job centers. We're one of the most highly educated cities here between the Seattle metro area of any other part of the country. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of highly educated residents living in our area, which attracts some of the smartest, the brightest in the industries that for Boeing, for Microsoft, for Google, a lot of those areas. So we have a lot of innovation, a lot of great, brilliant people living. Also, you've got the hospitals, with Fred Hutch and Swedish and Virginia Mason. We have a lot of people in the medical profession as well that are brilliant. So we're very blessed to live in such a wonderful community with so many opportunities. Also, I think being a lifetime Washingtonian, it's beautiful here. It's been a little dreary lately with the rain. But
I like it. It's never boring.
Yeah, so you need to get some great rain boots and off we go. But we're so blessed to live in such an area with such great beauty, with the ocean 2 hours away and the sound and downtown Seattle and Mount Rainier. It's there's never an abundance of things to look at. And then also recreationally, we've got, skiing and boating and hiking and biking, all sorts of things that we can do in the outdoors. And downtown Seattle has a wealth of things to do, on Pike Place Market. And also we're very fortunate to have the sports teams, that we have. I'm a big, big Seahawks fan. And I think that it's fun to have the Seahawks and the Mariners and the Sounders and have a professional sports team. Not all cities and states have the opportunity to have those experiences that we do, having professional sports teams as well. So I think we have a nice mix between the arts and theaters and different activities to meet a lot of different interests.
I agree. So and the personalities of all of us and how much we love our sports too. My stepdaughter lives in Colorado, and two things. She loves Seattle. In Colorado, they don't get any rain there. And you would think that Seattle, Colorado, there's a huge difference. She loves Seattle because it is so beautiful and she wants to live here so bad. And she says, you know what, you guys were it was so embarrassing. And I don't want to say anything bad about the Broncos, but in Denver, they didn't have the support that we did for our team here. We were killing it. Look at everything that we did. So we're awesome people. And aren't we? We're still at the very low end of the Port Rim cities. If you compare any other Port Rim cities around the country, our real estate and where we're at compared to them is nothing. And so we've always been able to use the other Port Rim cities as an indicator for where our real estate market is going, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Cheryl, I want to go ahead and switch to another conversation here and talk a little bit about single family homes versus condos, because we've got a lot of condo opportunities here, a lot of single family also as well. What's the better, or is there a better investment when you're looking at the difference between the two?
Well, a lot of it will depend on if you're buying it as an investor or are you buying it as your personal property. So those are things you have to ask the buyers first. And a lot of it will just depend on the lifestyle. That's a big difference between whether or not you want to own a home or whether or not you want to own a condo.
Sure.
Where do you want to be? A lot of times affordability, you might only be able to afford a condo or a townhouse, and you don't have the opportunity to purchase a home. So those are things you have to look at. And if you're going to buy a condo, you have your homeowner dues, and you're also dealing with people. And you can't always make the decision, do I want to put a new roof on? Do I want to paint outside? But for some people, that's great because they just want to be able to move in, lock the door, travel, or go to work. They don't want any maintenance. And when you own a home, all of a sudden now you have possibly a new roof.
Yes.
So there's a lot of maintenance involved in that. So you really have to really dig down and say, what's your lifestyle? Where do you want to live? What's your price range?
Makes total sense, and just line it out and know the difference between it, and get into the make the right decision for you. Great advice. And let's go, Greg. Let's talk a little bit about pre-inspections. I know Kim had mentioned that initially at the beginning of our show. And again, if you're just tuning in right now, all experts in their arena, everything real estate. They're all top of their field in the real estate market, and we're just talking about real estate all day today. And we mentioned about pre-inspections. Pre-inspection is when a seller actually is getting ready to list their home. So if you're a seller right now and you're thinking of listing your home, pre-inspections where you're going to have an inspector come in before you put your home on the market to get an idea of exactly what the condition of that home is. Greg, what's your advice? Because you've got a law background too, so I chose you for a reason. Put your attorney hat and your real estate hat both on.
Well, let me give a very lawyerly answer and say it depends.
Okay.
Now, I think that when you retain a full-service real estate broker, like all of us here today are, you're doing so because you want education. You want somebody to be able to explain all of the different options that are available to you and what the consequences are. Now, if I'm counseling a seller who has what I would classify as a premium property, home that's been well-maintained, at a good area, where you have neighbors that have also maintained their yards in an appropriate fashion. You really don't want to have folks who are buyers asking 11 at a time, I want to do a pre-inspection before I make my first bid.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. If you have a house that's going to be listing for, $1 million or even $800,000, the great likelihood is that you're going to have buyers who want to do a pre-inspection even before they make a bid.
Yeah.
You as a seller know that's going to happen. And as a consequence, you have to make an informed, educated decision as to whether or not you want to have one that sort of has a report out there. All the buyers can take a look at it. Everybody knows where they're starting from. Now, that's not going to stop the buyer from having their own inspection at a later date. And as a seller, I would say, look, you want the buyer to have...
But at least you're not going to have 20 of them coming in. And inspectors, I mean, they're going into some intense detail of that home.
That's
so
right.
that does put wear and tear.
It makes a lot of wear and tear on systems that weren't designed to have that much wear and tear.
Great advice and a great way of looking at that. Let's talk a little bit about it. And it's funny because I've been doing my show for four years, and it transitioned from one name into the Money Hour, but it's been the same show and same format. And it's funny if you look back in time, and gosh darn it, if you had a crystal ball, I tell you, my clients today, they always go, Tina, where's the rates going to go? And I go, you know what? I don't know. Every expert, and I am an expert in my field, every expert, we're right 50% of the time. So there you go. But we were talking about, remember we were talking about shadow inventory. And for those of you that are listening that don't know what shadow inventory is, that was all of the properties that were stuck. They were stuck at the banks. They were stuck with people that couldn't make their payments, that were going to eventually lose them. And they were all in the shadow just way back there. And there was this risk of all this massive amount of property coming on the real estate market, and it would be devastating because we wouldn't have enough buyers. The shadow inventory never came, and I don't think it's going to ever come. What's happening right now with some of the bank-owned properties and some of these people that are going through the foreclosure process? Are we going to see some of these properties coming to the market to help out a little bit in our short of inventory?
Are you talking about potential short sales and REOs?
All of it. Anything distressed.
Well, dealing with banks and HUD, what we have found is that big investors are pooling together horrendous amount of money, and they're just buying maybe $10 billion sometimes, or $100 million homes all at one time. And what I'm hearing, because I go to a lot of the conventions, is they're sitting on a lot of this inventory.
Yes.
And they're overwhelmed because they didn't really understand the reality of what they were getting into.
Okay.
So I think there is still a big chunk of homes that are sitting off to the side. But most of these investors are looking at putting them up as rentals.
Okay.
And so I don't see a big chunk of inventory coming from the REO type.
Okay.
I think you're going to see a good inventory of HUD homes.
All right.
Which were FHA
foreclosed.
Foreclosed.
Yep, foreclosed from if you had an FHA buyer.
But I don't see in the next few years this mass amount of inventory just hitting the market from there. I think you're going to find more of what we call now our new vocabulary word, standard listings or equity listings. And I think you're going to find a lot of seniors. You're going to find a lot of them starting to get to the process of either by force, unfortunately, or to start downsizing. I think that's where some of the inventory is going to start coming.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I mean, you and I are in a group together to help help the seniors and help all elders in that transition period. So exciting to see how that comes together. Let's wrap up the show. I've got about 5 minutes left, and actually a little bit less time than 5 minutes. But I want to hear some stories, crazy stories, something that you can use. Because always when we have live stories, I don't care if it's seller side or buyer side, you guys are working with a lot of both of them. And so what's a story that you can share that maybe we can use as a success story, or maybe we can choose another agent, you saw it happen in the office, and we could use it as maybe a learning experience? What do you guys have?
So I was holding an open house, which is a great way to get to know how the market's operating now.
Okay.
You get to know buyers. And a woman came in, and she was looking around kind of sheepishly. And I walked up and I introduced myself, and she seemed a little bit standoffish. And long story short, it turned out that she was brand new to the market. She had never done this before, and she was afraid to ask for help.
Really?
And, yeah, and it sort of tore up my heartstrings here, because she was a woman who had divorced and was making a transition in her life.
Yep.
And it was such a great opportunity to help somebody who was in real need here.
Sure.
And that's what makes being a real estate broker such a wonderful thing, is that you are confronted on occasion with the ability to help somebody who really actually needs it. And so it's not a funny story, but it certainly is one that I think shows that if the buyers out there are willing to talk to a broker, we're there to help. We want to be able to do that, and we can give you the options that allow you to get into a home that's perhaps a little bit more fancy than even you were thinking was possible.
Yeah, and thank you so much for that, Greg. And again, if you guys are regular listeners to the show, you know how much I am committed to each and every one of you on everything regarding money. And that is why I'm very specific on who I invite into studio. Pick up the phone, give my show a call, 1-888-987-0570, 1-888-987-0570. If you think of even the slightest chance that you're going to be selling or buying, you have got to pick up the phone and talk to one of my 3 experts, because they definitely can help you and to get through this process. One more quick one more quick story, as Kevin, my engineer, is flagging us down here. Cheryl, Kim?
Well, for me, I remember here not too long ago going into a multiple offer, and I was one of 22, and we were given 10 minutes. So we were in line at the real estate office, and all of us agents are in line ready to give our spiel of why they should take ours.
Wow.
And we go in, and I have to say the agent was so professional, and the seller was there, and basically he had a spreadsheet, and he goes, hits his little timer and says, "You have 10 minthis, Cheryl.
Oh,
give us
my
your
gosh.
best. Give us your best shot." And I just thinking to myself, like, "Whoa." This is good.
But the agent probably knew who you were, and he's like, "Come on, Cheryl, you got this. Give it your best shot."
So that was really interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting times. It's a crazy market out there, but just remember, life is balanced. So when you've got challenges, there are huge opportunities waiting in equal proportion. And there are some challenges out there in the real estate market, but the opportunities are just as big. So look at the glass half full and not half empty. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. What a privilege and what a fun day this was. I really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Tina.
So when we have our next panel, I'm going to have all 3 of you back. We're going to do another roundtable. Maybe I'll bring some champagne the next time. This is your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, signing off for the day. Everyone, enjoy your Sunday. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did. Look forward to having you back next Sunday, same time, same place, right here on 570 KVI. And have a great weekend. Thanks, everyone.
The preceding program was paid for by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Absolute Mortgage Company, NMLS number 81395 and Washington CL number 81395, is an equal opportunity housing lender. Tina Mitchell, MLO number 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Absolute Mortgage. Visit AbsoluteLoans.com or call 888-90-HOMES for cost information.